It goes asset class by asset class. It teaches you what that is, how to invest in that. And then it gives you information about how to make choices in that asset class that are aligned with your values. So how do you shift your cash into alignment? How do you fit fixed income and bonds, stocks and public equities, private investments you might have, real estate, whatever it is? How do you start thinking about that a little bit differently?
Can you give us an idea of what it looks like to shift your assets into those things that reflect your values?
Sure.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the asset class, but an easy example that anyone can do is their cash, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of us have our savings and checking accounts in big major banks, and we don't actually know what those institutions are doing with our money. It's kind of like a black box. Where I have shifted my own money is into community banks in my own neighborhood, in my own community. So I now have my money going to women entrepreneurs, to underserved populations in my community, and to things that are making my community a better place to be. If you think about bonds, a lot of my fixed income is in municipal bonds. So it's in bonds, not only in California, but in bonds in other parts of the country that are supporting education or clean water systems or other kinds of infrastructure that has public value. You can also buy green bonds or other kinds of socially responsible bonds through corporations. So there's lots of bond and fixed income options. You can get in through individual bonds or bond funds that are focused on these kinds of things. Same thing in the stock market. I mean, the stock market has literally thousands of options that you can choose among in terms of the kinds of things you want to support with your money.
I think what's really interesting listening to you is that I know that the focus is helping women become more confident in their investing. But everything you just said about impact investing, men could pick up on that just as easily.
You're 100% right. And so when I said I had 150 people help me with this, there were some men involved. So this is not about excluding men. I'm not trying to do that. But you will find if you read a lot of finance books, they are written to men. They use male pronouns. They tell stories about men, right? So what I've done in this book is I've done the reverse of that. I've told stories about women. I've used female pronouns. I've talked from a female-centric point of view. I would love to have men read my book, and I encourage you both and all your readers to do that.
Remember, guys, that means you can play more golf.
Yeah.
Just reminding you of that.
And because women do better, you can go to better golf clubs.
Yeah, upgrade, man. Upgrade. I have either two questions or a two-part question, the answers to which will probably take forever. So if they can be answered very shortly and cryptically, please do. But the first thing is you talk about equitable investing or equitable results. And we're hearing that word from all of our politicians in the past week is equitable. What's the difference between equitable and equality? Because there is a difference there, is there not?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. And I can't say that I have pondered that to a great degree. But okay. I would say for me, equity would mean that there's the same opportunity and the lack of barriers, right? So it doesn't mean equal in that you're just trying to give everybody exactly the same thing. It means that you're trying to remove the barriers so people can have the same access.
That's the way I understood it. I was hoping that would be.
Yeah, let me give you a great example in the public equities market. One of the things I'm involved in is I am making investments in women-run companies. And the reason I'm doing that, and a lot of women I know are doing that, of all the venture capital money that was invested, about 2.5% went to female CEOs. Wow. That's a lack of equity, right? Because there are barriers, and we could talk about that. We don't have to, but there are barriers that have been put up that make it harder, some conscious and many unconscious, that have been put up that make it harder for women to get that capital. Part of what you're hearing about is equity in the papers is that those barriers are trying to be removed, and there's now attempts to make sure that people who have been traditionally left out of these kinds of opportunities are getting the chance.
Talking for a living, as I have done, semantics plays an important role in what my understanding of things. And people keep talking about, and I've heard it from foundations like Melinda Gates Foundation and other people, that they're looking for either a cure to poverty or the causes for poverty or relief from poverty, whatever. I would think that everybody knows what poverty is. It's a lack of anything. Lack of money, education, hope, jobs, whatever. Why don't we call it a study of what causes prosperity? I think a lot of people might get behind that a lot more. I don't know, just a suggestion.
It's an interesting, so I'm curious, I'd like you to speak a little bit more about that. So when you say people get behind it more, if it had more of a how the causes of prosperity or the things that you need for prosperity, why do you think people turn away from the idea of trying to solve poverty or eliminate the issues that lead to poverty?
Because it sounds frustrating. Because even in the Bible it says the poor have always been with us. It's a difficult challenge to affect, and one immediately, whether correctly or incorrectly, goes to charity.
I totally agree. And actually, I think that there has been a movement in the philanthropic sector, and I know that this was true when I was at the Gates Foundation, is that a lot of people are looking for ways that you can bring commercial capital, that you can bring investment capital to solve these problems. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's one of the things that I did when I was working in international development. I started out working on something that was called microfinance, right, which is giving small loans to impoverished people, primarily women. One of the things that grew out of trying to scale microfinance is a phenomenon known as mobile banking. So we started in Africa and Kenya using mobile phones as a way to provide financial services to the poor. That started in 2007 as an experiment. Mm-hmm. Today, that has grown to over 100 countries now have mobile banking, and over 1 billion people on the planet are being served through a for-profit mechanism to provide financial services to people who were previously unserved.
10, maybe even 15 years ago now, I forget when it actually happened, but when Bono from U2 came out and made the statement that capitalism has raised more people out of poverty than anything else in the world, I got involved with a company that was giving $500 microloans to people in Southeast Asia to create businesses. They had an idea. They gave them $500, and they said 99% of them got paid back.
Yes, it's great. Very true. The repayment rate in microfinance was phenomenal. It's true. It's the same thing here. So one of the things that I'm invested in here is there are these financial institutions. They're called Community Development Financial Institutions, CDFIs. And these are often set up as nonprofits, but they are providing loans to people who are underserved. And they are the people that the banks don't want to serve, the traditional banks don't want to serve. Yeah. Their repayment rates are like what you just described. They have 1% to 2% default rates usually.
Wow. We're with Janine Firpo, who is the author of the book, Activate Your Money, Invest to Grow Your Wealth, and Build a Better World. We will be back to talk travel, golf, and all kinds of uncomfortable things. We'll be right back.
Every once in a while, a new app comes along that you play with for a little bit. You go, man, this is so cool. There are so many fantastic things we can do with this. And we have found one of those apps. It's called Stereo. It allows podcast creators to build a more intimate relationship with the fan base by engaging them in direct conversation, because listeners can record a question and send it right to you. You can ask for questions, you can entertain, you can have a dialogue. The Approach Shot is really excited to offer our listeners a new way to interact with us. Join us Monday at 2 Eastern Time for a live show on the Stereo app. Just download the free Stereo app and select Approach Shot. Then you can connect with us whenever we're live. Stay tuned for more details on how to engage with us on Stereo at the end of today's episode. There's a wide range of conversation topics going on Stereo right now. There's comedy, there's pop culture, there's lifestyle, there's sports, etc. And Monday at 2, there'll be us. Go there now, www.stereo.com/approachshot.
Pigskin fans, the moment you have been waiting for all season is right around the corner. And DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports, is bringing back their golden ticket giveaway with up to $55 million in prizes up for grabs. Hey, it's Neil Michaels letting you know all you have to do is enter DraftKings' free Big Game Prediction Challenge. And once you submit your picks, you'll get a free instant prize up to $25,000. Yep, everyone who enters gets a free instant prize up to $25,000. And if you're the best, the one with the most predictions correct, you could win the top prize of $1 million. Time's a wasting, friends. Download the app now and enter the free prediction challenge. Answer questions like who will score last, and boom! Get ready to make it rain. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code APPROACH to enter the $55 million Big Game Prediction Challenge. Everyone gets an instant prize up to $25,000 just for playing. So remember, use promo code APPROACH now and enter the free $55 million Big Game Challenge. Only at DraftKings. Terms and conditions and eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
And we are back again. I'm John Ashton. He is Neil Michaels. Janine Firpo is our guest here on the Approach Sod. And Janine, do you play golf? A two-part question. Either or.
So I have played golf. I tried it. And what I found was my favorite part of the whole game was walking. So I found that hitting those little white balls with a club was really frustrating. So I decided to just stick to walking. And that is what I've done. And I've taken it to a bit of an extreme.
The walking or the avoiding golf?
The walking. Some friends have taken it to an extreme.
If we all just started walking when we got frustrated playing, none of us would play anymore.
Yeah, so how extreme is your walking these days?
Yeah, how extreme have you gotten?
Well, one of the things that I did was I walked across the north of Spain on something called the Camino de Santiago, which is a 500-mile pilgrimage trail that's 1,000 years old.
I have seen that on the Rick Steves travel show, and people say it is remarkable. They learn so much about themselves. And then when they finally get to the end, it's as if your life has changed entirely.
It is a tremendous experience. And I think different people do it different ways. You can walk it as a spiritual journey. You can walk it for exercise. People do it for all different kinds of reasons. I walked the last 150 miles of it with my husband once and was so enthralled with it that we went back and did the whole thing again. And it is life-changing. It is.
Yeah.
I was just saying I did it to mark my retirement, actually.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. And you said you also did quite a long hike and had a journey through Africa?
I did. So that was amazing. I've traveled to over 80 countries, traveled and worked over 80 countries in the world. And I always wanted to travel all around the world, but I was in the high-tech industry and things changed so quickly then. I didn't think I could take a whole year off. So I took 4 or 5 months and solo backpack through sub-Saharan Africa. So I started in Ethiopia, and then I flew down to Zimbabwe, went into Botswana, and then overlanded back up through Malawi, Mozambique, Zambia, Tanzania, Kenya.
I feel so inferior. A friend of mine once called me up and said, "Hey, take a few months and we'll just do the Appalachian Trail." Yeah. And I was like, "You crazy?" No, I'm not walking that far. That's why they invented cars. No.
I believe you said the other day that it was a long walk to the refrigerator. So Janine, you got frustrated with golf. Was there something that was there one moment? Was there an aha moment of glory? Did you do something that you were like, I can do this? Or was it all, I shouldn't be doing it?
It was kind of fun. I got to admit. I mean, I got a little bit better as I tried it. I totally understand why people like this game because you could do this for the rest of your life and never reach perfection, right? So there's this holy grail that you set out in front of yourself that you have to keep striving for. And when you get too egotistical and you think you're almost there, you screw up totally and then have to stop.
A friend of mine once said, golfers are mere mortals pursuing a game that was obviously invented by and for gods.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the book.
Okay.
I understand it's scheduled to come out in the spring. Tell us a little bit more about how it came about, who the 150 people were that helped you, and what you were striving to accomplish by doing it.
Well, the inspiration really came from a book that I had read back in the early 90s. There was a group of women from the Midwest who formed an investment club, and they wrote this book. It was called The Beardstown Ladies, and it was about their club. It was about how they invested, the rules. You remember it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, that book did the pre-internet equivalent of